We are beginning Proverbs chapter 12. We're in verse 1 this morning. And it begins with these words: whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. All right. Now, as we made mention last week, because we did read all of chapter 12, and then we looked at the various words that helped to define that of wisdom and those who follow wisdom, which is righteousness, etc., and folly and foolishness and wickedness and disobedience. And we had all these different words that we then listed after we read the whole chapter. At the chapters, these chapters and the entire book defines its terms. And we'll see a little bit more of that in this verse, as a matter of fact. All right, but first, we just look at this, at the first phrase in this. Whoever loves instruction loves knowledge. Here is someone who is always learning and always willing to learn. But we have to ask the question, instruction in what? Okay, because does that mean I have to learn everything there is? Because someone can be giving instruction on how to lay carpet, all right? Why do I want to learn how to lay carpet? Unless it's necessary, why do I need to learn that skill? Maybe there are other things better to learn for me at this moment than that. So does that mean because I refuse to learn that particular thing, that makes me someone who rejects instruction and makes me stupid? Well, here is where this particular, and we'll show others as well, this particular proverb is going to help define its terms, okay? Because the second phrase helps us understand the first phrase. The first phrase, whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates, look at this, correction is stupid. Now, we can understand Hebrew parallelism. Hebrew parallelism uses different words, different phrasing to say similar things. And so, with this, we can understand that instruction also means correction. We can understand that. And of course, in the context of Proverbs, it's going to be instruction in wisdom. That's what it's going to be. And so someone who loves instruction loves knowledge. And this is going to be moral instruction, moral knowledge. That's what it's about. Someone who's willing to take instruction, willing to take correction, is one, in fact, who loves knowledge. And loving knowledge also means loving the truth, also means loving wisdom, also means loving righteousness. It fits in one big package. And someone who loves instruction, which would mean loves correction, okay, being corrected can hurt. It just can. That you are doing something wrong. And in this instance, it would be morally wrong. You are making not just some little mistake over here that needs to be looked at, but this is a moral mistake. This is sin. This is something that can condemn you. And that can be hurtful. Some people take it very, very well, and some people don't take it well at all. But this is bringing us into an understanding of this love or hatred. So we go to the next line. So Proverbs 12, verse 1, but he who hates correction is stupid. Now I'm reading from New King James. I can read the same thing, but he who hates reproof is stupid. That's from the English Standard. both of them have that word stupid in it. And sometimes I get corrected, okay, of saying the word stupid. But it's used here. Why? Because there is a Hebrew word, and the Hebrew word can be translated into English as stupid, because I have two versions here that are doing it. But there's also another word that it can be translated into, and that is brutish, or someone who just will not be much more than an animal. Someone who it's like an animal, incapable of improving, incapable of learning, but that's the animal. You know, you try to teach a mule something, you try to teach a goldfish something, you try to teach, you know, just name it. Try to teach a turtle or a starling or whatever. Try to teach them something. The likelihood is they'll not get it. They'll not understand it. Now you try to teach them something morally right and morally wrong. Well, forget it. All right, they're not going to be able to comprehend it, and they're animals. They're not judged according to moral decisions, and really they have no real sort of moral law that's over them. They're animals. Now, when we're talking about a human, we're talking about someone who's brutish, someone who's like an animal, and that is not that they're incapable, it's that they won't learn because they hate correction. This is a person who insists on being wrong. This is a person who insists on continuing in error. That's what it means. And the world is filled with such folk. Not everybody is like that. No, and which is a good thing. But the world is filled with such folk that when you try to show them something, well, I'm sorry, I was born this way. Okay? Why would God make you a certain way and then condemn you for being that way? Okay? I have 10 fingers, 10 toes. Suppose God said only those with 12 fingers and 12 toes can enter heaven. I don't have that. And that He condemns anyone who has less or has more. Okay? That you have only 10 of each, therefore God has said you can't be in heaven. Well, who made me this way? I didn't make me this way. I was born this way. I truly cannot help that. All right? That would be a wickedness on God's part. It would be. God does not do anything that is unrighteous by way of judgment or anything else, for that matter. He does nothing that is unrighteous. He would never make someone a certain way and condemn them for being that certain way. Someone can be trapped in sin, and that can happen very young in life. That can happen very young. Someone can make a moral decision, and that is going to affect them for the rest of their life. But it can be overcome. Any sin can be overcome. If there was any sin that could not be overcome, that would be saying that Christ can't do His job, and that the Bible can't do the job that it was set to do. That this instruction that we have been given only helps a certain percentage of people, but there's a certain percentage it can't help. Well, the only ones it can't help are those who refuse the help. That's the only ones. They refuse the help. And here in this Proverbs, it says such a person is brutish or stupid. You can't expect them to grow. You can't expect them to change when they hate the instruction, they hate the correction. Now, we come to verse 2. A good man obtains favor from the Lord, but a man of wicked intentions He will condemn. Now, once again, this is combining some things in an understanding of it. All right? Because in the first phrase, a good man obtains favor from the Lord. All right? That is, in totality, this person is good. But a man of wicked intentions, he will condemn. So this is taking one section out of what it means to be good, the intentions of it. You take that out, that person's not good anymore. You take out good intentions, you make them wicked intentions, and now you have someone who's not good anymore. Okay? A good work, something that truly is good. A good work. I have helped these people in whatever way that was. I have helped these people, but my intentions were wicked. Well, how would that be? Well, I'm going to use this against them at some point. So I don't know what the intention was, but the intent was wrong. Maybe it's like with Nadab and Abihu. I'm sorry. It's Sapphira and what was her husband's name? Ananias and Sapphira. All right. They just want to look good. They sold a piece of property, and their intention was not to do the real good, but to have a name that they have made the sacrifice when they really didn't make the sacrifice. But they wanted the name like others had gained from it, like Barnabas, who truly did good. All right? But their intentions were wrong. Though I speak with the tongues of men and angels, all right. Though I have the gift of prophecy and all knowledge, though I bestow my goods to feed the poor, all those are extraordinary things. But every one of those lines comes up with, but have not love, it profits me nothing. I become like a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. I am nothing in all this. What does that mean? That you have to have a good action and the right intent. There must be. The intention must be there. Not just a thing of showmanship so that I get honored for it. That's ill intent. That's wrong. Not so that I can take advantage of the moment, such as a politician would do, and they often do. It's nothing like that. It is truly doing good, and that there's the right intention to it. Now, we can also switch this up of someone who wants to do good, but what they're doing is not good, but they want it, okay? They want to do good. They want to please God. They have the right heart, the right intention. They're just going in the wrong direction about it. We can look at Saul of Tarsus. Saul of Tarsus thought he was serving God, but he's persecuting God. All right, no one can judge his intention. No one can judge that. His direction and his actions, yes. You can judge that. So we read this again. A good man obtains favor from the Lord. As God judges actions, but a man of wicked intentions he will condemn. God judges the heart. All right, good act, wicked intention, that's wicked. A wicked act with every good intention, that's still wicked. All right, there is to be no wickedness involved in this at all. Both of those situations are wicked. We can also look at what Jesus says to the Samaritan woman, John chapter 4, 24, when he speaks of must worship God in spirit and truth. That is, knowing how he is to be worshiped, by what means that is done, and the proper spirit to it, the intention. Intentions alone are not enough. And the right mode and method and all of that are not enough. They are both together. They must be. They must be together. Someone, and it's like with God as He addressed Israel and Judah separately at different times, of where you have wickedness in your life and you make these sacrifices, but you're not about to change your wickedness. You're not changing that whatsoever. And you're doing these things, including observing the Sabbath, wondering, when will this be over? When can I go back to what I want to be doing? When can I get this out of the way so that I can get back to business, so I can get back to the various things that I desire? All right, is that the right intent? Well, no. The right intent would be worship to God. That would be the right intent. The right intent would be doing this out of service, out of love. That's the right intent. But switching that up, someone who has the right, still in the Old Testament, someone who has the right intent, there still were laws as to how God was going to be served. If it's sacrifices, this is specifically how it was done for this specific sacrifice. Someone comes to the temple with a herd of pigs, all right, something's wrong. Something's wrong here, all right? You come with something that isn't specified. I'm going to sacrifice these animals? Well, why did you even bring them here? You can't. You can't. Now, let's go to verse 3. A man is not established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous cannot be moved. Now we can go down to verse 12. The wicked covet the catch of the evil, but the root of the righteous yields fruit. So this is both concerning the root of the righteous. The root of the righteous cannot be moved. And in verse 12, the root of the righteous yields fruit. All right, so a man is not established by wickedness. Matthew 7, beginning in verse 24, going to 27, you have the wise and the foolish builder. Wise builder establishes his house, builds his house on the rock. What is that? How do you do that? By hearing these sayings of mine and doing them. That would be Jesus saying that. Hearing these sayings and doing them. But whoever hears these sayings and does not do them is like the foolish builder who built his house on the sand. All right, not well established at all, and it's going to fall. It is going to fall because the sand is going to shift, and it's not going to take very long at all. So a man's not established by wickedness. Can't be, because you will be a slave to sin, and you'll never be established at all. But with integrity, well, with righteousness, but integrity, steadfastness, faithfulness, you can stand. You can stand, and you can stand against Satan. You can be wholly armed, Ephesians chapter 6. You can be ready for Him. Wickedness does not give stability to anything. It gives no stability at all. I remember hearing about a fellow. His family was there was going to be a wedding in his family, and he was invited to go. And his wife had never witnessed one of these weddings. Okay. And he wanted her to see it. And he smiled because he knew something was going to happen. You've never seen this side of my family. You've never seen these people that they're getting married to. All right, I want you to witness it. And it might have been good to leave the kids, all right, and know when to leave this wedding. But here is wickedness will not establish anything. All right, so he goes to this wedding, and you have the father of the bride. I'm not making this up. He said this. Father of the bride comes in, and he's bringing all of this liquor. And I'm not even sure if it's legal. I have no idea about it. But he's bringing all of this liquor. And he said, you have the wedding, then things begin you've got this celebration. And he said it wasn't too long till you had drunk people. And that same father of the bride begins to wave around a shotgun. And it's time, and he said it was just fortunate nobody died. But it was getting there. And of course they knew when to leave. You may have already passed that point when someone has retrieved he's so angry he's gone to get a shotgun. All right, you've kind of passed that point. But understand that here you have this occasion that should have been a really great day. This occasion where you have these two families getting together, and who knows where the loyalties would have been concerning groom and bride. Who knows? That's a terrible way to start their marriage. It's a terrible way. But just going to illustrate that of wickedness doesn't establish anything. There's no security in it. There's no safety in it. There's no wisdom in it. There's no stability that can be found. And it just depends on the level that is being plummeted or plunged to. But the wicked, there is no establishing them, truly establishing them, of having firm ground to be on, because the ground always shifts. Just like the sand with the house that the foolish builder built on. It always shifts. And it is somewhat terrifying, somewhat funny to see individuals say things and affirm things today that just 2 years ago they didn't even think about. But now they're passionately for it or against it. 5 years ago, it wasn't even on their tongue. They weren't talking about it. They weren't considering it. They knew nothing about it. Now, all of a sudden, it matters. Back 5 years ago, they probably would have rejected the idea. But now, they're all for it, or they're all against it, whatever it is. And there's a side to it, yeah, that is terrifying, of what's gotten a hold of you. What kind of poison got into your system? Well, it's called sin. And festering sin leads to this. That's what it is. That's what it is. Now, verse 4. This is going into marriage, and we'll discuss this for a little bit. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones. Now, it is true that you can switch this up. A husband is the crown of his wife and the glory of his wife. But a man who's no good, a man who causes shame, that's going to be rottenness to her bones. Now, the world understands marriage instinctively. We understand it, except those who are absolutely against it, and they're just twisted individuals. But from a natural, instinctive nature, and natural nature, well, that's good. But from just instinct, we understand marriage to a certain degree. But there is a greater depth that is there. These two are truly joined. And they are in the institution that was first established on day 6 of creation. It's been from the beginning of humanity. It's there. And that relationship is profound. And one affects the other. It's not like they are two living in separate cubicles. They are affecting each other. That her good affects him. His good affects her. And bad as well. You know, what she does that's shameful affects him. What he does that's shameful affects her. And they both can, in fact, the husband is defender. The husband is the one who is responsible for everyone's welfare from one side of things. The wife, she is the domesticator. Here is the home. She and both of them are natural at it. Let them go, and that's what's going to happen. All right. They both will do their job when they're supposed to be doing their job. But she is the one. I said this not too long ago. Women have the ability, better than men, they have the ability to de-escalate a situation faster than men can. They can do it. Now, a man can also do it, but a woman can do it more effectively and faster. It's been a number of years ago, and it was in Atlanta where it happened. It was, and it shows what women are very good at and what they're not so good at. Okay? Just understanding this. It was a prisoner being transferred. Big man. And it was a woman guard, police officer, who was escorting him to the car that was going to take him wherever he was going to go. He easily subdued her. It wasn't long, and she was on the floor and couldn't do a thing about it. Couldn't do a thing. He runs. All right? And he's on the loose. And of course, he's got to have a place to hide. And where he goes, he actually breaks into a house where there is a woman there. And of course, she's afraid for her life, but she actually de-escalates the whole situation. She begins to read to him, and he calms down. The other one, what her job was to do was to be able to restrain him. Well, she couldn't. The second one, that was the first one, the police officer. The second one, she does what she naturally can do, and she just toned it down. And I do believe he gave himself up, I think is what he did, but he was arrested again. All right? That showed the strengths found in women. In marriage, the woman, the wife, can temper her husband, or she could take his bad side and amplify it. Ahab and Jezebel. Ahab's bad enough. If Ahab had an Abigail, he might have been more temperate and more of a good person. He was already bad. But you put Jezebel with him, and he's the fire, she's the gasoline. And she just pours it and pours it and pours it, and he just gets worse and worse and worse. All right? That's the way it is. But we mentioned Abigail. Abigail with Nabal. Now, Nabal is a fool. Nabal is. And I don't know their relationship prior to what we have there in 1 Samuel. I don't know their relationship. But she saves his life. And the other men that were there. She saves them from David and his men, because David intended to kill Nabal and every one of his men. He intended to do it. But she was able to, though she's not his wife yet, Abigail could calm that situation down. She was able to do it. And it wasn't by cleverness. It was, one, by doing the right thing, and two, that's a skill. That's a skill that women have. But with someone like a Jezebel, if she had been married to Nabal, well, Nabal would have died. That's all there would have been to it. It would just been worse and worse and worse. But now we come to someone like Zacharias and Elizabeth. Now there is a righteous couple. Righteous man, righteous woman, and they complement each other. They help each other doing right. The good side to him, she is amplifying. I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt about that. Because she's good, he can be better. Because he's good, he provides a home where righteousness is allowed to grow, and they can grow together. And it is a deep relationship that is in marriage, a very deep one. And we go back to Ananias and Sapphira. They both agreed to do wrong. They both agreed together this is what they were going to do. And they're, of course, being condemned as together for the things that they have agreed in. But let's read our verse again. Verse 4. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, because she does him nothing but good. And because of that, it makes his life easier. It makes her life easier too, but it makes his life easier, and he can do his job easier, which is going to help her. All right, she makes a difference. But she who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones. They are bound together in marriage, and if she is just causing shame, well, he has to live with that. He has to live with that. That's who he's married to. That's who she is. And she is taking him down and bringing shame into that marriage. She can help or she can harm in very profound ways. She can do it. Now, we come to verse 5. And verse 5 is connected to verse 6 and also comes down to verse 8 as well. The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceitful. Okay? So we can go down to verse 8. A man will be commended according to his wisdom, but he who is perverse, he who is of a perverse heart will be despised. So we go back to verse 5. All right, the thoughts of the righteous are right. Now, this would mean the wise. The wise will give wisdom, and the honest, honesty. That's what you're going to get from them. That's what you're going to get from the righteous. Wisdom, and there's going to be honesty. But the counsels of the wicked are deceitful. Someone who is wicked, they're not going to give you good advice or even safe advice. You don't know what you're going to get, except you better not take it. Okay? And granted, you know people in your life. I know them in my life. You know people in your life. There are certain questions, there's certain advice you'd never ask that person for advice on that particular thing. Maybe advice on, what do I need to do with my car? How do I repair my car? All right, that's a different matter. But when it comes to truly important moral decisions, you'd never ask that person. You would be foolish to ask that person not to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it just reminds me of who's the fool or the one who follows the fool? Okay, well that's a good question. You don't want to be the fool following the fool. You want to recognize, all right, this person cannot give me good advice at all. All right, I'm not going to ask this person for marital advice because they've got a disaster. I'm not going to ask this person how to raise children. They're a disaster. I'm not going to ask them what I should be doing, concerning some question of right or wrong, something decision I've got to make that's staring me in the face, and it's an important decision. I'm not going to take it to them. I'm going to need to take it to someone I can trust, someone who's going to give me something honest, someone who's going to give me wisdom. And where better than here? And I mean the book of Proverbs, but I also mean the Bible. It's here where we're going to find that wisdom, where we can be, where we can do make the proper decisions and count on getting the proper information we need. Now, this, very much like verse 1, is showing us the second phrase helps us with the first phrase, the thoughts of the righteous. Well, what does that mean? All right, we come to, but the counsels of the wicked. So thoughts, actually, in this, those thoughts are counsels. Those thoughts are considerations, is what they are. That's what it means. And of course, the wicked can never be trusted to give you anything that's going to be wise at all. And now we come to this. This is connected to verse 5 as well. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright will deliver them. Now this takes us back to chapter 1, beginning in verse 10, going to verse 19. And that's a direct quote there from verse 11. Those that do not be enticed by those who say, let us lie in wait for blood. And we get an understanding of the level of wickedness that's being discussed here. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood. Well, that takes us back to those men, and doesn't necessarily have to be men, but to those individuals of chapter 1, beginning in verse 10, of they intend on murder and theft. That's exactly what they're out to do. They make no secret about that. They make no secret that this is their intent. They're all going to grow rich by theft and murder. And everybody's going to have a share in it. And of course that is, we call it organized crime. There are other words that can be used in it of a mob, of a group of pirates. There's a number of words that we can use. But this is the depth that they are. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood. That's where you can find that depth of wickedness. But the mouth of the upright will deliver them. That is, how about Solomon's advice? How about his advice? How about what he says? Will that deliver you? He says it will. That wisdom will deliver you in chapter 1, verse 10. That wisdom will deliver you from such enticement, from such people. And you start dealing with people like that, at that depth, they're not going to let you go. You try to leave that group, and they'll kill you for doing it. They'll do it. Because they demand loyalty, and it's loyalty to the grave. You leave that group, they can't trust you anymore. And they won't. And here is the mouth of the upright will deliver them. That's Solomon's advice, the advice of the wise, that will deliver you and to where you don't go down that path, which is precisely what chapter 1 speaks about, of stay away from that path. Don't walk with them. Don't even get on that path. Stay away from this. Now, verse 7. The wicked are overthrown and no more, but the house of the righteous will stand. So that takes us right back to the wise builder and the foolish builder. But the wicked are overthrown and no more. Yeah, going back to chapter 10, verse 25, it speaks of that whirlwind, that's the English Standard, or that's tempest. Tempest is the English Standard Version. Whirlwind is New King James. But it's only temperate, or rather only for a short while. That their wickedness, their misbehavior, their whatever it is that they're doing, it's only for a short while, and then it's over. And it will be overthrown. If it's not overthrown by men, it'll be overthrown by God. It will be. And depending on the level, will depend on how quickly that's going to happen. It will. Someone who has gone exceptionally deep, the clock is ticking on. It's ticking on for all of us, but the clock is ticking and it's coming up quick. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even next year, but it's coming quick. You become something that is horrible. It's coming faster. It's going to. And of course, we can't know when our end is going to be, but we can understand that here's words of warning, but also words of comfort for those who aren't among the wicked. But it's a warning and a promise. The wicked are overthrown. They will be overthrown. The house of the righteous will stand. If it were possible to take someone, let's say, an enemy of the truth, and we'll go back, let's say the 9th century, okay? The 9th century, an enemy of the truth, someone who hated Christ, hated the Bible, hated that all, and we were to bring them to today in this world. They would see that the very thing that they hated is still around today. Christ is still here. His church is still here. The Bible, not only is it still here, but it's been translated in all over the world. All right, you can't stop that. You can't stop it. Now, let's talk about the wicked. The wicked are overthrown. Their plans are overthrown. It comes to an end. They will be stopped. They will be stopped. And that we can understand that, and it's a promise, and it's words of comfort, that wickedness doesn't win ever. Never wins. People might think they've won. They've not won. They think they have done something great. They think they have done what nobody else could do. They haven't won. They haven't won at all. You go against Christ, you never win. You will go against His church, you never win. You never win. You can take some with you. You can do some damage. You can do that, but you don't win. Eradicating the church, you can't do that. Kicking it off the earth, you can't do that. 2 Corinthians 4, 7 through 11 mentions these words: hard pressed, perplexed, persecuted, struck down. And he's talking about himself. That's Paul writing it. He's talking about himself and fellow Christians. And yet continuing on. All right, we have run out of time. I appreciate you being with us. And hopefully next week we can continue in chapter 12. Thank you.